TikTok, guys. We now have about almost 7:30 this time. 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, a little less hours, and then we get our first football of the year: Browns versus Bears. And here's starters plan. I think Kevin Stefanski's. Let's pray nobody gets hurt. This is where these guys are really making their money. We're going to see exactly what all this work's done and how these starters look together. Now, as always, I'm Joseph Potter, and welcome on into the pub. Taking a trip to Brownstown today and looking at what we're going to expect here in this game. Now, the big thing I expect is the young guys are going to get a lot of reps, going to get a lot of playing time. And the big guys I'm looking at right now are really Isaiah Bond, because he's been making plays, but he's been really quiet doing it. So we're going to see if he can be loud today, because we know Denzel Boston's going to make a play. We know Casey Concepcion's going to make a play. I'm looking at Isaiah Bond. I want to see him make a couple plays. I want to see him get his name called a couple times, because he has been quietly one of the stars of camp, and we need to see him get loud. Another guy I'm looking at to really make a difference here, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. From what I understand, he's going to get a lot of reps. He's probably going to get the bulk of the reps at the safety position. I'm also interested to see if he plays nickel at all, because I know he's been playing nickel in camp. So I'm wondering to see if he's going to play nickel, because he is the backup safety. But if he can play well at nickel, he might be able to wrestle that nickel job away. So putting him in that situation will definitely help him. I'm interested to see if he's actually able to do it, or if he's given the opportunity to do it. And that's the big thing. Are you going to get that opportunity? Because these guys are going to get a lot of opportunities. I'm also interested in, because we do have injuries on the defensive line. From what I understand, Carson Swessinger, middle linebacker, is not going to play. I don't think Mike Hall is going to play. He's not going to play. Mike Hall is not going to play, last I heard. Obviously, we have a couple other guys on the defensive line and defensive front seven that's not going to play due to injury. And this is something we're going to have to watch out for. Can these guys stay healthy through these games? Because right now, defensive line's a little beat up. And while I'm encouraged, I'm going to get to see a couple of these young linebackers, because I'm higher on these linebackers, these backups, than a lot of people. I've been high on McNeil Watson for a few years now, but he always seems to get hurt right as he's starting to ascend. So he's been playing well in camp, and I want to see that translate. And I know he's going to get opportunities today. Also, Justin Jefferson, middle linebacker, he's going to get opportunities. Quincy Williams and a young pup. Good chance you see Watson running the strong side with Jefferson in the middle sometime before this day's over. And I want to see those two young linebackers work together and show, hey, we belong here. and we can get the job done. Because if those two guys can step up, that makes the job of not only the defense coordinator easier, but that'll make Carson Schlesinger and Quincy Williams' job easier because they don't have to be out there all the time. So guys with high motors like that, well, they want to be out there all the time. Let's face it, that takes a lot of energy. So for these two guys to step up and step into these roles, that will be absolutely amazing. And I'm really interested to see these guys on the corners because everybody who talks to me knows I love Ross, what Ross is able to do. But he had an up and down camp. He made some amazing plays, and he got picked on a lot. So he's going to have to step up and show, hey, the reason I gave up all these catches was because I was getting thrown at all the time. He's going to have to show that when he's not being thrown at all the time, he can still make the plays. Because if he can still make the plays when he's not being thrown at all the time, show that last year versus the Bengals in that last game, fluke. And this is his first opportunity to do that. So the starting corners and Ross are not my biggest concern is when it comes to the defensive backs, we're also looking at that backup corner position outside of Ross. That number 4, number 5 corner position, no. That has looked bad all year. All camp, looked bad in mini camp. And for some reason, DeShaun Watson just wasn't able to break through it. But they didn't look good. Maybe that was more of a safety play because the safeties have looked good. And the one safety I think is going to surprise some people here because we got Delp, we got those guys. But we also have interceptions, pass. Come on, microphone. Start working for me. Okay, there we go. Sorry, folks, my microphone stopped. Wonderful timing. But the big guy I'm looking at here for the safety position because we also have Ronnie Hickman. I'm not sure how much he's going to play. I had all this stuff set up last night. My browser decided it didn't want to do it. See, anybody who knows me knows I suck at names. Always have. Oh, I have some definite stories for that one. But the big guy I'm looking at is Christopher Edmonds. Christopher Edmonds, number 41. He, big guy, 6'2", 210, 2-year pro at Arizona State. Dude's been all over the field. He's been knocking away passes. He's been getting interceptions. He's been doing a really nice job in coverage. And I want to see him. And I think if you pair him and McNeil-Warren at safety in this game, because there is a very good chance Ronnie Hickman doesn't play much. Delpit doesn't play much. Honestly, if they get a full series or play at all, I'll be mildly surprised. Todd Monken said he's playing the starters, so I would expect those guys to start under that, but that's a pretty big blanket. But I want to see Edmonds come out, and I want to see him do what he does. And McNeil-Warren can use that closing speed that he was showing. I got one play in camp that really stands out. There was a comeback. I think it was Concepcion that was coming back for the ball. Shadur threw it. It was on time. Thrown before he turned around. Thrown on time. Don't listen to the beat reporters. They're bullshitting you through that one. It was thrown on time. It was a good pass. It was a good route. McNeil-Warren was out of the picture. They say, you got to throw fast. I don't know how fast you want. You want to hit him in the back of the helmet? The McNeil-Warren was out of the picture. He closed a good, trying to think. I know he was at least 3 to 5 yards away. And he closed that in about a second. And he was going the other way. He planted and moved that fast when his momentum was going back, if I remember correctly. That is unreal closing speed. And we knew he had massive closing speed in college. That's one of the reasons that I loved him in college and saying he should have been a first-round pick, and was flabbergasted that he fell to the second round the way he did. Was that closing speed. And there was a perfect example of it. If he can do that, and he can give Edmonds a chance to make those plays like he was doing in camp, you could have both your backup safeties right there. And if Edmonds or McNeil-Warren can prove that they can play closer to the box, now you may end up having your nickel and dime corners, which I am not a big fan of the guys they've got at nickel and dime right now. I know they played McNeil-Warren at nickel. Dime guys, I know they tried, I think at one point they tried Ross at dime. I think they tried a couple other guys there. I think the free agent they got from the Texans this offseason, I think he's the one starting at nickel and dime right now. So you expect to see him. Let's see if because he had a couple good years with the Patriots. And then last year, he probably had the worst year of his career. And so the Browns were able to get him on the cheap sheet. And that was, what was his name? Miles Bryant, I believe it was, that they brought in. So, and Miles Bryant's 5'9". That's not, from what I understand, Coach Rudy, the defensive coordinator, likes bigger nickel and dimes. So 5'9" is not ideal. So we're going to see how long he can hold that spot, especially if McNeil-Warren comes out blazing. Now, on to what everybody wants to talk about. Let's see. And okay, before I get to that, because I just almost forgot. Almost. Don't expect to see a lot of Harold Fannin. He's coming off injury. They're going to want him to get his feet wet. Don't expect to see a lot of them because you're not going to want to get him injured again. Re-aggravate that injury in camp or in the first preseason game. Now, in camp, he has been very good. Just 2 days ago, No, 2 days ago they were traveling. 3 days ago, he caught 2 touchdown passes from Shedeur Sanders in the end zone. One was a very good pass I broke down in my last live stream, where he came up, looked like he did a little hitch, and Shedeur just threw it to the open spot. He took one step, caught it, just found the open spot. Very simple, very heads up touchdown. So he looks like he's in early season form, but I still wouldn't chance it in today's game. So don't expect for Harold Fannin to be anywhere near any major centers. If he gets a catch, expect him to be pulled. Expect these young tight ends to get in there because another thing I'm expecting with this offense is somebody that's shown out. He hasn't really been talked about much, and I don't know why. But it's not Joe Royer. I mean, he hadn't even been there. All right, that feels better. And that is Jack Stahl. Stahl is 6 years out of Nebraska. He's been a journeyman. He's not been doing much. But he's been having a really nice camp. And he's a guy, he can catch some balls. He can do some things. Number 89, watch for him. He's going to get plenty of playing time today. And I expect him to show out a little bit. 6'4", 250 pounds. Because he's been playing really well. And another guy that's been playing well is Brandon Bates, the tight end. So I expect Brandon Bates to also come in here and do some things. So both those guys should get good reps. And you're going to have DeShaun Watson in the first half. You're going to have Shedeur Sanders in the third quarter. They're going to get plenty of opportunities. Now, somebody who really needs the help is Carson Ryan, tight end, because he's been struggling at fullback. So he's going to need to have a good showing today. Also, what people have been talking about, and I ain't going to forget about, is Quinshon Judkins. He's going to be in the same place as Harold Fannin. Now, it's easy to forget about Judkins and Fannin because they have been injured. There have been days when they have shown that they are better than they were last year when they were healthy. They're both more explosive. They both look like they're a little bit smarter. But at the same time, they're both coming off injury. Expect them to get a couple touches and expect to not see them again. Because there have been a couple days they've been on bikes in camp. They're not being rushed back. And that's why they haven't been talked about, because they haven't been out there as much. And don't expect that to change today. I expect for both guys to get maybe a series, and then they get pulled. So Judkins and Fannin, do not expect a lot from them. I expect to see a lot of Monty Marshall. I expect to see a lot of Dylan Sampson. I expect to see a lot of Rocket Sanders. So expect those guys in the backfield, along with the backup tight ends, looking to prove themselves, because there's a lot of competition for, especially in the tight end room right now, a lot of competition for that backup tight end spot. And big thing, offensive line, I think 4 of those spots I think they're wrapped up. I was really hopeful for Parker Brailsford. He's been out with a thumb injury, and he wasn't, when he was in there during minicamp, I believe it was, for some reason, And I think he might have, if haven't heard anything definitive, but that shotgun snap of his wasn't looking good in minicamp. So I'm wondering if that thumb wasn't bothering him then, and they finally just ended up shutting him down. So expect Elton Jenkins to start at center. Expect Tevin Jenkins to be a right guard starting the year. Also on the offensive line, Austin Barber has been making some waves, and in a good way. Unfortunately, right now, he kind of ran into a juggernaut. Not just him, but Fano and half the rest of the bloody offensive line, because that defensive line of the Browns right now is hungry and they are angry. So, if that defensive line's half as good as I think it could be, I think the offensive line is going to be just fine. Because if you're going against the best every day in camp and in practice, you're going to be a lot better against teams that aren't that good. Look for Austin Barber. See what he does. See how he plays at that right tackle spot. Because right now, I don't know how much they got him lined up to play, but I like what I've been seeing. So keep that in mind. And now to the fun part. What I expect from DeShaun Watson. He's going to be playing the first half. He will be playing the first half. And barring injury. Just put that out there once again. These guys got to stay healthy. This is a pivotal time. This is where a lot of injuries happen. First preseason game. Stay healthy. And it's the reason some of these starters, like Swessinger and Mike Hall, who are Hall's a little dinged up. So he's being held out. He's been held out the last week or so at camp. And Swessinger being held out. Definitely don't want Swessinger getting hurt. And I think that's something for DeShaun Watson as well. DeShaun Watson has a short, narrow Achilles at this point. Remember, every time you have an Achilles surgery, that Achilles tendon goes from this, it gets stretched out, so it, just so you can see, right here, it's about that thick. It gets stretched out, so it can get reattached. It's a little thinner. Watson is, Adam the Bull said, he's partially torn his Achilles, so he knows what happened. And the rehab schedule wasn't doing what he was supposed to. Probably didn't have his boot on. He retore it. That means this becomes this. So for everybody who's watching, about that thick. Go ahead and let's get that out of the way. Come on, this thick. That's a little over half the size that the Achilles tendon is supposed to be. He gets grabbed around the ankle, he's going to feel it. Now, Mary Kay reported that his shoulder seemed tired at the end of minicamp. And you could tell it still seems tired. And here's how you can tell. When you get the football, I'm going to break out the football again. When you get the football and you're standing up here to throw, move this out. Hey, it's sunlight. Yay. Sunny Florida. You get back and you're throwing. This is something I talked about in the Mensa. breakdown. This is something I talk about during the men's breakdown because a little too much there. Okay. Because what happens here in this situation is when your shoulder's tired, you're looking for ways to work around that. What he's going to do, something I noticed in camp that he was doing, especially when he was side by side with Shadur and throwing the same route, is where when Shadur was standing straight and throwing here, DeShaun was leaning back and throwing from here, trying to get more body weight into it. I also noticed during camp that when they were doing back-to-back reps, not the 2 and 2 where you're on the other side of the field, but back-to-back, that where Shadur would step up and throw from here, and one of these was an interception to one of the aforementioned safeties. No, this wasn't an aforementioned safety. This was a rookie safety that went out injured and got released. But I digress. You can see Watson stepped up in the same way Shadur did, but he had a longer stride, and he went back and he launched. Now, I jokingly said that he was throwing to somebody in the subway parking lot on the other side of the stadium. But in reality, he was trying to compensate for something going on with that shoulder. And when you're compensating for something like that, it can become a problem. And we saw it with that. We've also seen it with a few ducks that he's thrown in camp. So what I expect out of DeShaun Watson is know the playbook. Get guys set up well, set up right, get them in the right situation, and just have clean operations. If you can make a good play, great. Big plays are always welcome. They're always exciting. You still have your deep touch. Avoid turnovers over the middle. If he can avoid the turnovers on the middle, over the middle, if he can avoid having to compensate for that shoulder, then I think that he'll be fine. But if he throws the ball over the middle, there's a good chance it's going to get intercepted or at least knocked down based on what he's done. But if he can throw it deep to the outside in one-on-ones, there's also a good chance that you're going to have a big play. And it's going to be an exciting play. Especially because I expect to see Bond, Boston, and Concepcion, all three out there for a good bit of the first half. Maybe Concepcion a little bit less because he was banged up a little bit in camp about a week and a half ago. So maybe they take him out a little bit earlier. But I expect the other two receivers to be out there with Watson the majority of the time. I don't expect the first team offensive line to be out there the entire time with Watson. I think that's something Todd Monken said. He's not going to have them all out there the entire time. I expect Fano to be out there most of that time. He'll probably be out there. He's probably going to have Austin Barber out there protecting his front side, Fano protecting his blind side. Probably going to have Luke Whippler at center sometime around second quarter. So expect a lot of backup play, and we're going to see how Watson goes at that. Now, we're going to sit here because we've got a lot of Watson there, but remember, we also have Shedeur is going to be in there on the third. He's going to be against second and third team guys. Also, remember, he's going to have the guys blocked for him are also going to be second and third team guys on his end. So we're going to see a lot from whose second and third string guys are better, which Chicago's defense is a very good defense. It's a very smart defense. So even if they're just showing the basics, it's going to be a challenge for both of these quarterbacks. But from Shedeur, I expect same thing. I do with DeShaun pre-snap. I expect it to be clean operations. And I expect Shedeur to avoid turnovers. That's the big thing for Shedeur. Avoid turnovers. You have to take what you're given. You've been doing that well in camp. Just take what you're given. Don't worry about the rest. And if you're given a one-on-one to Gage Larvidan down the sideline, take your shot. Make a play here and there. So you're going to get the third quarter, according to Coach Monken. That is maybe 2 series. After 2 series, they're going to probably take you out, even if the third quarter's not over yet. Going to put in Dillon Gabriel. And, Gabriel, I'm going to put it this way. Everybody knows I'm not a huge Dillon Gabriel fan. But Dillon Gabriel has played, even though he's played so-so in this camp, he's played better in this camp than I have seen him in all the years he's been playing football. So I'm rooting for him. I really am. Because I do think he has long-term backup potential. So I'm really rooting for him to come out and have a nice showing. And I would expect him to be in there late third quarter, probably the last series of the third quarter. And I hope he plays well in that. The beat writers are going to say, Dillon Gabriel should be the number 2 or number 1 quarterback or whatever based on this. But let's face it, I just want Dillon Gabriel to come out, have a good showing, and show, hey, I deserve to be in this room. Maybe not in the number 1 conversation, but I deserve to be in this room. Because I've worked my butt off too. So I expect him to come out and play well because he has put in the work. And he has improved a good deal from what I have seen throughout his college career and in his professional career thus far. So I'm hoping he plays well. And then we have Taylor Green. The only reason Taylor Green wasn't drafted higher, there were people who said, yeah, he's got the athletic traits to be a first-round pick. Yeah, he has some of the best athletic traits we've ever seen in a quarterback. Like he was breaking records at the combine. But from what I've seen in camp and from what I heard before camp, Green's a project because his mechanics are some of the worst a lot of coaches have ever seen. Now, I've noticed improvement in that aspect, but Coach Monken and his staff, they've got their work cut out for them. And I expect him to just come in and continue to improve. Just get his experience in. Because you know he's going to get a series or two in the fourth quarter. So just get your experience in, get used to the speed of the game, keep improving. And honestly, I don't think there's any risk of him getting hurt because he's a physical marvel at quarterback. He's, just as athletic as anybody in the league at that position. So I don't think there's any risk of him getting hurt. And finally, what I expect out of these guys, just up their level of play. Under Kevin Stefanski, level of play, the attitude, the no starters were playing. It wasn't intense. They were just going out there. They were playing the game. I expect some intensity. I don't think Coach Monken will accept anything less. I expect intensity. I expect a lot of, gusto, gung-ho, go get them. I don't expect any fights to break out or anything like that. But I do expect these guys to show that that, hey, I'm playing for my job, I'm playing for my career, I'm playing for my position. I'm just not here to collect a paycheck. Let's get after it. Starters are playing. Everybody's got to earn their. It's just not something like it has been. Wait because somebody's being handed a position. Everybody's got to earn it. And I expect them to come out like they have got to earn it. And with that being said, I expect the Browns to come out and I expect them to be ready to roll. So this has been your Browns pregame setup for the Bears. And remember, go Browns, and the shot's on us.